Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today, we are ringing in the new year with a little sci-fi book from the mid-2000s called Fear Agent. John, had you heard of this one before?
No, hadn't heard of it. I'd never seen any images of it or anything either.
Oh, really?
New year, new comic for sure for me.
There you go. Well, I remember reading like 2 trades of this book, like when it was coming out, like at the very beginning, and I was like, yeah, this is really fun, but I never like continued. It just seemed, I don't know. It kind of got lost in the fray of just, other stuff too. But I always really like it. It always stuck with me. I always thought it was really fun, but it just never really went further than the first 2 trades. So I wanted to kind of see if it was still good and maybe continue if I feel like, if I liked it a lot, So this is a book by Rick Remender, who's written a lot of stuff, but he can be kind of hit and miss with me. I don't love everything he does, but I do like I think he's a solid writer. And like usually if I hear he's writing something and it looks interesting to me, then I will try it out. So do you know anything by him that you've read?
I feel like I saw something off, but I don't remember offhand now.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
Nothing that pops in my mind that I was like, yeah, that comic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if we've read anything by him. Oh, Black Science. He did Black Science.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah, it was another sci-fi one.
Yeah. He does sci-fi stuff a lot. But this was kind of like the original one. This is like one of his early books from the mid-2000s. Because like he hadn't written much by then. So he was kind of cutting his teeth around this time. And then also the artist on this book is one of the co-creators of The Walking Dead, Tony Moore. So he's got that kind of angular, blocky style that the first kind of Walking Dead issues had. But he didn't stay on that book for very long. I think he was only on for like the first trade. But then one of the other things he did around the same time as that was this book. So, I mean, like I said, it's kind of like a sci-fi. I don't know what would you call it? A sci-fi adventure? Is that what you call it?
Yeah, like a sci-fi space romp. Yeah,
romp. That does involve Texas, which we all love Texas.
Yes.
So, me and John are from Texas, or we live in Texas. So
yeah, I'm born and raised, so definitely.
Yeah.
Wait, that's the only thing I'll spoil ahead of time is the art in this was wonderful, except the shape of Texas was never quite right on his belt. It always was off and changing, and I didn't like that. Being a true Texan.
Oh wow.
Like, can't draw the shape of Texas.
I mean, it is true. It's not quite correct, but what are you gonna do?
I knew. I'm just messing.
Yeah. So this book starts off, and I thought this was kind of fun how it starts off. Starts off in space at like a spaceport where like a space trucker is pulling in, and he's all mad because no one's answering him. And I just thought this was funny, like him yelling, and then when he gets out, you see what he looks like, and he's obviously not human. He's like an alien. He's got like a cyclops, but then he has 4 legs. So he's kind of what would he looks like those droids from Star Wars, the droidicas or whatever they're called from.
Oh yeah, from episode 1, yeah, the rolling ones. Yeah, it's funny because he looks like that, definitely a little bit in shape, kind of Monsters Inc. as well, but like totally what I would expect. And this is kind of like I was saying, like maybe like a romp, like a good old time. Like it kind of this comic several times gives me hints and feels of Spaceballs, and it's like this. It's like this is exactly what I would picture an alien trucker look like. He's still got like a big kind of like gut hanging over, like kind of like smaller, skinnier legs.
Yeah, real skinny legs, which is fun.
Yeah.
But so he pulls into the space station. He hasn't gotten any response from like I guess what would they be, the flight people or whatever, the docking people.
Talking crew or
And he's
something.
like, yeah, he's like, what the heck, you know? And then he goes into the space station, and no one's in there. He's like, well, this is weird. And then immediately he gets attacked by an alien that's kind of like a Cthulhu monster, we'll say.
Yeah.
It is. It's got like, you know, tentacles and a big fucking mouth that's like a, what is it, like a spherical mouth or whatever. So, or a circular mouth. But yeah, like I just thought that was like a fun introduction to like this world, because you get like what this comic is immediately from that first 2 pages of like, okay, it's silly, but it's also like fun, but it's also violent. So it's kind of like a good introduction, I guess, to the comic. Then when we go to the 3rd page, we see our hero. What's his name again, John?
His name is Hudson Huston.
Hudson Huston. That's right. I wanted to say Heath or something, but
oh, I'm sorry. It is Heath. It's Heath.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I did have
Heath,
it right.
Heath Huston. I don't know.
Yeah, Heath Huston. So Heath is on another planet called Fratzerga, which is, I don't know. I thought the names of stuff was kind of funny in this. It just seemed like he just let's just call it this, and then forgot to rename it or something. You know, like like he just picked a name and then sure, why not? Just keep it. So, but he's there on this planet, and he's part of a group of people called Fear Agents who were based in Texas. At some point in time, we don't really know too much about them as this gets started. He's got a big pack on his back that looks like it's got like a radioactive symbol and stuff. So it's kind of like, what the hell is all this about? But he's like a contract, not exterminator, but I guess, like, I don't know. What would you say he is? Like not a private eye, but like he's not a contract killer.
He's an alien exterminator. I think he describes it later too. He's an alien exterminator.
Okay, but he doesn't have to kill them, right? Like he doesn't actively try to kill these like these ape people or whatever.
No, I think the only ones he's contracted to he'll I think like class A life forms. Everything else is like, I guess, just kind of like, it would be like, I guess they got someone.
Oh, like if we killed ants or something. Like
yeah, like yeah, I guess you would kill. Yeah, you probably kill like ants and crocodiles and stuff. But then they're like, oh, you're a pest. You're a possum, catch and release kind of thing, maybe.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're a dolphin. We like you, so we'll just let you go. But yeah, so he runs in, or he's trying to find these ape people that I guess have been, you know, terrorizing this planet, and they've been apparently stealing like technology stuff from the more built up society or cities on the planet, because there's like, it's like kind of like the Morlocks, and then like whatever the Morlocks live underground, and then like the fancy techno people live above ground. It's kind of like that, where they live in like caves and stuff, these ape people. And so they've been raiding these villages for tech stuff, which is unlike them. And then that's why he's been contracted to take them out, I guess. Or at least he's actually been contracted to find their lair so that he can get the tech back. And then I guess, you know, if they die in the way or whatever, it's no big deal. But so immediately they attack him, because of course they do. And yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to go good for Rick, but he's, one of the things I like about it is he's kind of like Ash, where just like shit, lucky stuff happens. You know, he's unlucky, but then when it counts, he's lucky, you know?
Yeah.
Like yeah, he'll run into a whole situation that he shouldn't have been in. That's unlucky, but then, you know, when he's about to die, the lucky thing happens and he's okay. So he kind of always pulls through all situations. So the initial meeting with these ape people goes good enough that, like, you know, he fights them and then they run away. And then he goes into their cave where he finds that a bunch more ape people are building this giant rocket. And just when he's about to like attack them or shoot, you know, actually like shoot at them, he gets snuck up on by some ape people and he has to, like, we find out one of his weapons is like a freeze gun or something, because he freezes one of them, and he's like, he brought this specifically for them because they hibernate at 10 degrees Celsius or whatever or something, or not Celsius, I guess it's 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And so he brought this freeze gun to do that, but then, you know, he shoots one, and then another one bites the line, and it's probably like it's some chemical, but it's like liquid nitrogen, right? Like freezes
Yeah.
it, and it like squirts out and freezes one of these 8 people, and then he like it bites his arm as it bites the hose, so like his arm also gets frozen, or Heath's arm also gets frozen. So like he's like, ah, fuck my arm, and then like he has to punch the face of the gorilla or the ape man, and it like shatters. So that was pretty fucked up. I was
Shatters.
like, Jesus. But like now he's got an arm that's down because it's frozen, just like the ape man's face, so he can't move it. Um, and as he's running away from the rest of the 8 people that have been alerted, he runs down a cavern and he finds a giant brain alien monster that looks a lot like Starship Troopers mind bug. If you remember that, John. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I do very much so. Yeah, I thought like that. Like I had a little bit out of that, but maybe I also thought like Krang, like a really big.
Oh yeah, he looks like Krang, I guess. But I just immediately, because it's an alien, went to, oh yeah, it's the mind bug from the mind sucker from Starship Troopers. So, um, and also it's telepathic and stuff like that bug thing was. So, it turns out that this is actually the thing that's the real threat, because it has taken over these 8 people and, you know, used their minds so that they'll steal the technology to build this mind alien a spaceship. And so it tries to use its mind tricks on, or its telepathy on Heath, but he has like a spacesuit with a, I guess, telepathy blocking helmet or whatever, like the bubble, you know, around his head.
Yeah, I like that. It just kind of like pops up. The space stuff in this very much feels like those old like
As
19
needed.
like
Yeah.
well, as needed, but also like those old like 1950s. Like this is what we think space is gonna, space travel will look like.
Yeah. For sure, yeah. And yeah, like it's one of those domes, you know, like around his head instead of like an actual space helmet.
Yeah.
But the helmet, luckily, is not just glass; it blocks, you know, telepathic communication and stuff too. So he's able to kind of escape and get out of there. And then he's like, he gets the pack that he had, and apparently it's also like a bomb if he wants it to be. And so he programs it. He tries to program it for 15 minutes to give him time to run out of this cave. But unfortunately, he hits 15 and then he gets attacked. So it thinks 15 seconds. So he throws it as hard as he can towards the spaceship as the mind alien's like, I'm out of here, because he's been found. And it blows everything up, including all the 8 people that were there, except him. Somehow he gets out just in time. And then that's the end of the first issue, like him just being like, well, at least I made it, you know, like that's good. And like it said that he wasn't able to, or he's not supposed to kill like a class A life form. Is he considered a class A life form, or humans? I don't remember.
It's ones of higher intelligence for sure. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but class A, I mean, obviously the mind or the brain alien is like telepathic and stuff, so it might be even higher than us, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so they don't really go into that further, but that might be something that that could be a plot thread that, you know, continues past the first trade. You know, if he goes on trial for killing a level A intelligence or something. But then when he goes back to the city that hired him, they're like, you fucking asshole. Like, all the apes that were not in that vicinity of the explosion ran down and started murdering everybody in the cities, and we see like all the things are on fire and everything. And so he's like, anyway, my payment. And then the city's like, no, we're not going to pay you. So he goes back to his spaceship, you know, no money. And he's like injured, like his arm is still fucked up. He takes a shot later, right? Like I don't know what it is, some kind of like adrenaline shot or something that he puts in his arm that like wakes it up or unfreezes it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's like, yeah, some kind of a adrenaline shot.
Yeah. And then we meet when he gets on his spaceship, someone starts talking to him, and we find out that his spaceship has a personality, and her name is Annie.
I like this because I wasn't sure at first if it was someone like away, like he's going towards, or like a person in the chair talking named
Right.
Annie, but then the more he talks, he's like, I'm so glad like the ship is like it's nice like a woman, except like it doesn't always like
It doesn't
refer
talk back.
conversation back. Yeah,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I was like, oh, okay. So it's just a ship. But
Yeah.
this very much felt I kind of gave me like a Ghostbusters feel too. You know how like he went he didn't really catch anything or bring any of the space stuff back. It all destroyed it. But still was like, well, here's your bill. It's gonna be this much for me get just climbing up the hill.
Hey, there
Going
was
up
work done, right?
Yeah. And then he's like, okay, well, now let's go ahead and get back in. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was just fun. Yeah, it's a good start.
Yeah. So one thing that's interesting is he, gets drunk a lot when, once he's on the ship, he takes off and he's like, well, we only got enough fuel to go to like this spaceport. We don't have any money, so I'm going to have to like beg when we get there. And so he has a like collection of VHS tapes. He puts one of those in and starts watching a football game. He gets his whole bottle of whiskey or whatever and a cigar, and then we see a picture next to his feet as he puts them up on the dashboard or the control console, and there's like a picture of him and a woman, and the woman looks a lot like Annie. Or am I wrong on that, John? I thought it looked like Annie. Is that correct?
No. Yeah, I think it kind of looks like her. It's definitely like, he's definitely like, obviously there's something that happened back in his past, and it's kind of like, well, okay, well, this is like, I guess it's, yeah, like you said, something close to, but maybe like something he won't ever like get into some kind of bad argument with. But yeah,
right,
definitely some history there.
Yeah. So as he's flying on his way to, it's a different spaceport, but he gets a call from, I guess, headquarters or whatever, and they're like, hey, we need you to stop at this other spaceport where we've got complaints about something fishy is going on there. So he goes there, and like his ship starts fueling. Like, one thing I thought was interesting is like, since his ship is kind of sentient, like with Annie's consciousness or whatever, it like can do stuff while he's gone. So he just has to say like, oh, make sure you fuel the ship. I'll go inside and it'll be all good. And then he goes inside the spaceship or the spaceport, and then immediately he's like hit with a smell of decay and rot and dead stuff. He's like, I know that smell. That's a bad smell. Then he starts walking around and this whole place is empty. So he's like, well, yeah, I needed food and money and all this shit. Like, I might as well take what I want from here. So he like first immediately goes to a liquor store, but then he notices a lot of corpses around, and he starts seeing eggs and stuff. And immediately he's like, oh my God, it's a feeder. So John, what'd you think of the feeder? It's like the Cthulhu monster, but crazier, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely, so there's one in recently in Star Wars too. It's called a Rathtar, and it's like a big roly. He's red, but he's very similar. It's got a big gaping mouth and big tentacle things. But obviously this is before that, so I didn't, but I'm just saying, like, I like that kind of design, like tentacles, big.
So what I'm hearing is you're saying they stole it for Star Wars.
Maybe they did. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they read this
They're
and they
big
were like, hey,
Fear Agent fans.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very cool. Yes. Anything with tentacles, usually I'm down with it.
Yeah, it's got like a Sarlacc pit mouth now, too. Did you realize that?
They stole it from the Starlight. Yeah, they stole it from the Starlight.
Exactly. So it is, it's all give and take, right? So and the thing about this is like, it's not just one monster. It's like not an ever expanding, but like he says, it's a monster that doesn't like shit or anything. It eats and then it poops out eggs, basically. So there's just full reproduction mode. That's all it ever is.
Yeah.
And these things have been known to like wipe out full planets in like a day because they can just like eat everybody and then start having eggs, and then all those eggs hatch immediately. And then, so it's like an ongoing cycle. So he's running through this whole space station, killing all these things, but they don't seem like they're going to give up because, like I said, they reproduce really quick and there's a lot of them now. So he goes into the bathroom, and as he's running into one of the stalls, he just throws a grenade in the toilet. It explodes. It lets him get into the sewer system. I I mean, I don't know how spaceships are built in this time period. But
obviously, Matt, if you know, if you look as a building engineer, I think you should also have an idea about how spaceship engineering works.
yeah, of
And
course. I mean, everybody who doesn't, right? You've never been? You've never been to space? Okay. Well, all I know is this thing has a giant, I guess, sewer reservoir, which makes
a
sense.
giant one, but also with like crystal clear water.
Yeah, I was like that water is definitely not crystal clear unless there's some kind of process it goes through, on the way there. Maybe there's like a screen that separates the solids from the liquids, and then it gets treated. The liquids get treated, and the solids get burned or jettisoned into space. Who knows? I don't know. It's space technology. So, but what he like falls in the water, and luckily he's got his helmet as needed, right? So he's like, better put my helmet on when he threw that grenade, and then it's on when he falls in the water. So he's, it's a spacesuit, so obviously it works in water too. But when he falls in the water, he sees there's a woman in there, and is she like, another exterminator, or what was she again?
So I think she was someone who happened to be there and work on it. I didn't really get anything about her background.
Okay, yeah, they don't really like set too much up about her, other than she came here, I guess, and like figured out what was going on, and then now she's stuck here too. So
she didn't know what that thing was.
Yes. So he tells her it's a feeder or whatever, and then so now she fixes. I guess he had a cut on his face, and so they go above the water, and she puts a bandage on his face, and then she's like, "It's not because I care about you; it's because they smell blood or whatever." So, which I'm like, wouldn't the spacesuit block that? But I guess not. It doesn't. It blocks telepathy, but not the smell of blood. Good to know. So in his infinite wisdom, he decides like the best thing they should do, because he doesn't know how to get out of this big tank of water. He like throws a grenade down, and it blows a hole in the side of the space station, sucks out all the water into space, and then they're on the outside of space with their spacesuits, so they can like breathe and everything, no problem. But as they're crawling on the outside of the spaceship, they look in the windows, and they see these other aliens that are on the ship, and they are the ones who brought the feeders. It turns out that these, what are they called? Dressites, right?
Yeah, dressites.
Yeah, dressites. That's what I'm talking about with like names. I'm like, seems like that was kind of a placeholder name. But he's like, by the time it was about to come out, he's like, fuck it sounds fine. But I guess the dressites have had a war with the Earth before, and that's something about what happened with I don't know if that's what killed everybody on Earth or whatever. He says something about the bad stuff started happening on Earth. There was a big war, but at least one of the wars on Earth was about this. We do find out that kind of Earth is no more, and that's why it's so weird that he is a fear agent. And he's like, yeah, I was from Texas. And they're like, you were from Texas, a fear agent? That's crazy. Like, I didn't know there were any more of you. So it's kind of like, oh, what's going on with them? What happened to them? But he's like, okay, I see them, these dressites, and they're corralling the feeders into spaceships, and then they shoot them off into space. And they're heading towards Earth, which I guess is still around, even though they talk about it being destroyed. Maybe it's just destroyed by like wars, but people are still there.
Yeah, well, there's very few humans left. I think it's just like destroyed as far as like, or not destroyed, but like unlivable, I guess.
Maybe, but like, why would they care then if these feeders are going to Earth?
That's true, but I got a sense there wasn't that many humans left from what.
I don't know. In these first two issues, they don't really.
I can say that maybe.
Say.
Yeah.
Because also, okay, so there was more than one war on Earth with aliens, but it made it seem like maybe America or a big chunk of Earth was at least killed off during some of these wars, but maybe there's still enough there that it matters. Like, it's the last of the human race or something.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it's like the last of them.
Yeah, must be, because they're all concerned. So immediately they're like, "Oh shit, we gotta go to Earth and warn them." And they can't just send radio transmission. I didn't quite get why. Did you understand why they couldn't just radio Earth?
No, I didn't. They're just like their shipping trucks are going. So we gotta. I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't. It was something that, like, when they said it, I was like, why can't they just? Because obviously he's talked to. Maybe Earth is. I'm thinking the people he's talking to on his communicator are Earth, but maybe it's not Earth. Maybe it's like a space station headquarters of the fear agents or something. So maybe Earth is too far away or something to radio or to talk to. But either way, he's like, we can't radio ahead to them.
Oh, it's because communication networks have been flooded.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So, as they're like leaving, like we said earlier, the spaceship was refueling when he first pulled in, and so it turns out that the Dressites like planned on this, and so they gave the ship like super fuel. And so, like, when they hit the warp speed button to get to Earth faster than these other ships, it sends them through a wormhole, basically. And they land on Earth, but it's like thousands of years earlier, right?
Yeah, no, so they don't know right away, but when they go back, they're like, this is weird. This doesn't seem right.
Yeah. Yeah, because like all the cities are destroyed, like all of them though, but it looks different. Like the cities look different and whatnot. And it turns out that they don't find this out earlier or right now, but a little bit later they find out that this is Earth, and it's like way early. And when they like crash land on this place because the ship is like so hopped up on warp juice or whatever they call it, like that it can't be controlled or whatever. So it like crashes. He has to like blow up his wife's ship, basically, we'll call it that, because it looks kind of like his wife. She talks to him. They're kind of like a couple together. They're at least friends, him and his ship. And he has to be like, I gotta blow you up, girl. And she's like, it's okay, I love you, basically. And so his spaceship explodes. Him and his newfound partner, what's her name? Mara. So him and Mara escape the explosion, and then when they're like crawling around the city, all of a sudden they start getting attacked by these robots that are all around. And this place is very interesting. They kind of it's like if WALL-E had laser beam eyes, What'd you think of that? What'd you think of the robot designs in this?
I liked it too. The robots very much seem like again, like kind of close to that 1950s, 60s robot designs a little bit, but then also like a little bit Iron Giant-y in there with some of the bigger ones.
Yeah, there was some Iron Giant in there, which I liked. But one thing that's nice is his ray gun that he has just fucking murders these things. Like, it just melts through their metal, no problem.
Yeah.
And some of them have like brains in like little glass jars where the brains are floating, where like the head would be, but the rest of the body is like you said, the Iron Giant or whatever. So Heath is like running from all this stuff. Mara, I guess he says like, Mara, you go hide or whatever. I'll have to distract him. So he runs off to try to distract them on his own and fight them. And he ends up fighting like one of these big ones with the brain and everything. And eventually Mara helps him, and then he escapes, right, with her. Yeah, that's what it is. Like he's fighting this thing. He's got a grenade. It goes off, and he's able to like shift the weight of the robot to like block the blast so it doesn't hit him. And then Mara pulls the robot off of him. So now they're like together, and they're running from hundreds and hundreds of these robots because they've woken up now. And it's like they're just never ending, right? And a lot of them are. I wanted to see one that was like Danger, Will Robinson, like one of those kind of robots. But eventually they do get away from these robot areas because they leave the city, and then or they make it out of the city, and then they run into this other race that kind of look like apes, but they're humanoid looking. And I don't remember what their name is. I know it starts with like a TH or something, right? They're like the Thalians or something.
Yeah,
like that.
so they're like Telltalians or Telltalians. No, I'm sorry. That's the. I'm getting ahead. My
they're
Telltaladins
or Telltaldians.
That's the ones with the robot brains. They're Astrogians. Astrogians.
Okay. So, but what happens is it turns out that these guys aren't bad. They start talking to them after they Heath gets healed, eat some food and stuff. So does Mara, and then I don't know. It doesn't say how just days later. So a couple days or whatever.
It was cool. They come off and they kind of look like a cross between like a frost giant and
an orc.
The White Walk. And the White Walkers from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But then they're thank goodness, I guess they're technically not peaceful, but they're not gonna hurt them.
Yeah, so they all sit around talking and figuring it out. But we, of course, they have their own version of booze, and they're like, "Hey, why don't you have some of this booze to Heath?" And of course, he's down for that. So then we get he's like, "Why don't I sit you guys down and tell you all about our history of this planet or whatever." So Heath and Mara sit down as the history of the planet is told to them by the head guy. What's his name?
Gens.
That's right. Yeah, Gens, I think.
Gens
we're going to say Gens. Gens. So
yeah,
this guy's talking about, okay, so there was originally just the Acadians or whatever they're called. I'm just going to give them fucking names.
Astrogians?
Yeah, Astrogians. There you go. It was originally just them. Then there was two philosophers. One was called Tetald, and the other was called, what was his name? Gentoo. So Tetald and Gentoo are the Socrates and the, Aristotle, right? And then they have a rift because they come up with an idea of how to live forever, where it's you take your brain out of your body and then you can build a robot body for yourself. And we know where this is going. Basically, stuff happens between Tetald and the other guy. What's his name? Gentoo. And they have warring factions, and now they're robot bodies, and they start fighting, and this whole thing happens. So basically, that's where all the robots came from. It turns out they're actually, these ape-like people, but just in robot bodies, and now they hate each other.
The Sneeches and the Sneeches with stars upon theirs, and
yes, or Terminator,
yeah. Well, except they have the brains of the actual people too. So
right, but you could say AI brain. It's all the same, right?
Okay, that's true. Touche.
Yeah, I mean,
but like it always is. It's oh yeah, well, you know what? We're just we think we're a little bit better than our creators, basically, or our original selves. So
yeah.
Now fuck y'all.
Right. So Jens, after he tells the story, is will you help us take out these, bad robots, right? And it turns out that the Telltaldians.
Telltaldians.
It's very that's what I'm saying. None of these names sound right. They're all weird.
They don't roll off the tongue easy.
No, they don't. So, but the Telltaldians apparently were a race that attacked Earth, and they're the ones that killed, we're assuming, Heath's wife and maybe Texas and stuff, because he talks about the war with them specifically. And so he's and we learned how to fight them. And it turns out that this is Earth. He puts together that this is Earth, and it's 10,000 years before this thing or whatever. And so they're going to be able to take out the people.
He puts it together specifically because I forgot they have a universal clock, and it tells him, he's like, oh, we're in the past.
Oh, that's right. See, that's one thing I like about this is they don't get bogged down too much with like exactly why does this, like, how did you know that? It's like, well, the universal clock, duh. Or like, how does telepathy get blocked by glass? I don't know. It's special space glass.
It's special.
Yeah, it's like you don't need to explain it too much. You just, we just need this dingle hopper to be here so that it makes sense for what I'm saying, and then we move on. You don't.
I appreciate you saying that, because that's how I feel too. And so many times, I people get so bogged down. It's like, well, how come it's so simple? It's what do they call it? It's like a MacGuffin or
yeah, the Deus Machina.
Yeah, and
wish I could talk right now.
Can't you just enjoy it? It's not of our world. It's science. It's like super spacey or whatever. Well, it's technically Earth, but obviously not like anything in our real time. So like, just can you suspend disbelief of like how normal things work?
It depends, John. It depends. Is that the world that they set up or not? This world is set up like that, right? But then there's some sci-fi.
Well, yes, there's some bad sci-fi, not Star Wars, but
there's some sci-fi that had rules that maybe has flubbed some of those rules.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about either, John. Star Trek. We're obviously talking about Star Trek. Anyway, yeah, so that's one thing I like about this. They don't spend too much time creating like serious lore that it's not gonna be like Galaxy Quest where the fans of this are like go up to the guy at the con and say like, okay, in issue 2 he said there was a universal clock, but in issue 12 the clock doesn't seem to matter anymore. It's like this sets up that you're not gonna have that problem because it already doesn't take itself seriously enough, right? So, but one of the things, getting back to the story is because he knows the time period, he's like, we can defeat these, these robots before they come attack Earth now. So and he knows how to do it. And this is one of the weapons I loved. It's like a flamethrower, but not a flamethrower. It's like a leaf that he puts on the end of like a gun. And then this chemical shoots out of the gun, and when it hits the leaf, it makes whatever the liquid lands on explode with foliage. So it's like perfect for killing these robots because they all have like joints and gears and shit. And if you put plants in the middle of all that stuff, it'll fuck it up basically. So he gets recruited once he shows Jens this thing. Jens is like, you must help us. You must kill Gentoo. So. Now, when he goes on the mission, I was a little confused because like him and Jens and some of the other ape people, whatever they're called, I can't remember what they're called.
Stroganoffians.
Yeah, Stroganoffians. They go in, they're like, okay, we got to take out the head guys. We got to kill Gentoo or whatever. And it seems like Jens is evil. Am I wrong on this? Like Jens is betraying him in some way?
So I don't think that that's Jens. I think that because Jens, I think, stays behind, and that's his like the guy with the helmet you're talking about.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like his like right-hand man. I'm trying to see
if I can remember it's confusing because they all look the same. So
They do.
I didn't know. I didn't know, but one of these guys is obviously bad because he's like, yeah, go inside the main room as they get attacked. He's like, You go forward, Heath. We'll stay back here and fight these guys. And of course Heath is like he's like in kill mode because he's like these motherfuckers blew up my life basically on Earth in 10,000 years. So I'm going to go hardcore, and he's like in war mode right now. So he's not paying attention fully to what's going on. But we see as he jumps into the next corridor or whatever to go hurt Gentoo or go kill Gentoo, the helmeted one of these ape people is like, for the glory of Tetald, and he smashes the head of Jens or one of the other guys. I don't know. I wasn't sure once again on who he's fighting. Like he's killing his own people. He's killing his own people, and it does look like, well, he looks back. Heath looks back but I don't think he actually heard or saw that, because he looks back like he's worried, but then it just says, down the tunnel I hear their screams. We all knew this was a suicide mission. So like, I guess he didn't hear the, for the glory of Tatald, for the glory of Gentoo, So Heath makes it all the way to like the top of the tower where the head brain is of Gentoo. And I liked this. I thought this was fun. There's like a brain, and it's like fairly close to the ground, and it's in like a glass, thing that's keeping it alive. Like in the middle, you think they're going to be like a fight or some back and forth talking, but basically what happens is he just pulls out his gun and he shoots he shoots the brain in the glass, or he tries to hit the brain in the glass. But then there's all these tubes that are coming from that glass. Aha! And the brain just like moves. Yeah, it's like a hamster cage, with all these tubes everywhere, and it can like suck the brain where, he can't get at it as easy. But then he pulls out his leaf thrower. I don't know what you call it. The plant grower gun.
Leaf grower gun. Yeah.
Yeah, the leaf gun, and he shoots the body of this. That like the thing, the brain gets put inside of a big robot body, and it starts to stand up, and he gets shot with it, with the plants. And then I thought this was interesting. Like the robot is able to grab him and smashes him into the ground, and it said his neck breaks. His, sounds like spare ribs is what it sounds like when his neck breaks, but he's still alive? ? I guess he's just paralyzed.
I guess, yeah.
He's still like awake or whatever, and he's just saying like, I failed them, and but now because of the inside guy, the guy that betrayed them from the ape-like people, I guess that guy told Gentoo, who's this, brain in this big mechanical suit, that they're going to take over the Earth, or they're going to kill the Earth, or at least go to war with Earth in 10,000 years or whatever. So they're successful. And now it knows like the weapon that the fear agents are going to use against it, which is this like, leaf thrower. And so it's like, haha, now we'll be able to like conquer all of Earth. And the only thing we have to worry about is like, now we have 10,000 years basically to make the technology that can block that or whatever, So that is, and then it steps on Heath. That's like the big moment. It like smashes Heath with its big boot that basically is like golf spikes or whatever on the bottom of his boots.
Spiky boot.
Yeah, big spiky foot. And then that's it. That's the end of the trade, of the first trade of Fear Agent. So it ends on like, oh, he's dead. That's always fun. But yeah, so John, what'd you think of it, and what would you give it?
I mean, it left me wanting more. I was like, that was really like, and I know we only read the first 4, and there's technically more.
Well, that's the first story arc, right?
Yeah, we
that's
read the first arc. That's what we do for our podcast. But yeah, like it was like, I feel like it wasn't quite enough. Like I was like, man, I feel kind of like they threw a lot of terms at it, like a lot of alien names and whatnot at us.
Right.
I didn't really get enough of like what I should be really caring about or going for. Really,
we care about Heath, right? We care about Heath on Earth, right? That's the two.
Yeah, I guess I'm supposed to care with the humans, but I don't always sympathize with humans.
Traitor.
So I am. I'm a species traitor, I guess.
You're a nerf herder. That's what you are.
But yeah, but I mean, it was the belt buckle thing, man. He wasn't a real Texan. No.
Yeah, maybe that's what Texas looks like in the future. You don't know.
That's true. Maybe they gave part away or purchased other parts of the country. That's true. We don't know.
Maybe it's a belt buckle from every 10 years as the territories were shifting shapes.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's a moving belt buckle. I didn't even think of that. Before and after.
Yeah, it's like it'd be like if it was like the Louisiana Purchase, and then when Mexico owned Texas, and then when we just walked in here and we're like, we're gonna start taking this land too, and then the Alamo and all that stuff. It all looked different.
Started with Six Flags over Texas, and then it
Hell
became however many wars and things happened after that, the 12 flags of Texas.
Yes, exactly.
Um,
and then just the one flag of Texas, the Texas flag,
Texas,
the Republic of Texas.
Yeah, when we secede, woo!
I'm waiting for that day.
I'm
John.
kidding. Anyway, so it was enough. I feel a little like I wanted more in the story than I got.
Isn't that good though? You want to read more. It makes you want to continue.
But enough. But almost like it was too. Like I said, like it would. Like I feel like had I been paying for these and they were coming out one by one, like that was like the first arc, and then like I don't know if they're like, okay, well now you gotta wait a year for the next, like when we get
a year. What are you talking about?
I don't know. It's
a month.
Not TV
every
show,
month,
right? Okay, well,
yeah. If I'm reading this in issues, it's not a problem. If I was reading this in trades, I would buy the first trade and be like, really, that's where it leaves it. But that's because you're buying it in trades. This is a monthly periodical, John.
Touche. Okay. Well, so you're just fighting all my things that I wanted to not like it as much as I did then. So yes. I guess I did really enjoy it more. I'm a big sci-fi guy, and I'm picky with my sci-fi, but I guess not as much here. I guess
now hold on. Now this is interesting because we just read a sci-fi book where we both complained about the sci-fi-ness of it, and that is Saga.
Yes.
Now, what is the difference between this and Saga? Like, why is this okay, and why is that not okay? Like, why did that seem kind of like normie bait or whatever?
Maybe because of the fantasy elements too, which I don't know. We had this discussion too, because like Star Wars has fantasy elements too, right? It's got the Force,
right?
But I don't know, like just something about like the magic.
It just didn't work, right? Yeah, like something didn't click.
It didn't for me, and maybe that is maybe we do need to go back and read the second. But I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know, something about, and like the designs too, because like this one felt more alien, and that Saga felt like they were taking. Yeah, it took creatures from like what's the
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Yeah,
exactly. Yes, yeah. Exactly. It took that and then put those characters in space, and then also like, and then so like there's like spaceships and stuff, but the spaceship's a tree, and I don't know. There was this little. I don't know. It was too out there for me. Is what it was.
It was too out there and not sci-fi enough for what. That was the thing. It was like it was too out there and not out there enough. Yeah. What I mean is it looked like someone just took a handful. It was like the table in Hook with the kids, right? The Neverland kids, right? Uh-huh. The Lost Boys. They're at the table and there's just colors being thrown everywhere, right? It's that is what that was to me. Whereas like, as opposed to this, like knew what it was. You know what I mean? Like it feels like it's more grounded, I guess. It like starts off in a very like, this is what we are. We're not taking ourselves too serious, but we're gonna, have fun. But there's gonna be violence. There's gonna be, these kind of messed up moments every now and then. But yeah, like I don't know. Like this one had a better tone, I think, that it set for itself. So you knew not to take it too serious. And I think it's also like Saga kind of was built up to both of us. I don't know if you had the build up, but I had the build up of everybody saying this was like the best sci-fi book of all time. And
I had maybe not quite that high, but I had a lot of people tell me like, "Oh, it's great. You're gonna love it. It's right up your alley. Like it's good." And then, like I said, I told you I found that little seal character. I was like, "Oh, he's cute. What is this? Was this gonna go?" And I didn't get him. And then I was like, and I also didn't get a good story that I was hoping for. And since we brought it up, I have to apologize to one of our patrons, Taco Mike, because he told me, he messaged me on the side and told me that I crushed his heart when I said I did not like it.
I mean, I will say anything we don't like don't mean that you can't like it. We just didn't like it. So feel free.
I have this problem all the time where I am a diehard until I die Star Wars fan. I love it all, and Matt hates most of Star Wars, so it's fine.
Whatever. I like the first, the three, New Hope, Empire, they're all Jedi.
Good. Everything is good. You're wrong, but anyway, that's what I'm saying. But you can get along with those people too.
Yeah,
There's a middle ground for everyone. There's 5 Indiana Jones films now, and I don't think Matt recognizes 2 of them. So
I don't even know what you're talking about, John. There's 3 Indiana Jones films.
but yeah, so I don't know. This one worked more for me than Saga did. So
Yeah, and I think it was fun. Like this is like an Army of Darkness, Evil Dead kind of, or not Evil Dead. It's the Army of Darkness in space. You know, like that's the feel of it. I thought it was kind of jokey. There was some fun stuff, but there's also serious stuff when it needs to be. There, you know, and it was also like, if you think like Black Science is another book that the same writer puts out, that is way more serious than this, not nearly as much funny. So like, I prefer this over Black Science personally, because it is like, it does that. You don't have to question the science too much, right? Like that, like we said, when it needs to happen, it will happen. Like, oh, we have a universal clock, even though we've never mentioned it. We needed it at this moment in this panel to explain how we knew something. So there it is, you know. Whereas Black Science or maybe Saga tries to explain it in a way that seems like believable or makes sense. It's like, look, just keep the story going, you know. This is more like a traditional comic where we're just trying to tell a fun story and don't get too bogged down in the details, kind of thing. So what would you give it, John?
So overall, I would say I would give this one a solid 7. You talked me out of giving it lower.
Okay.
I was feeling like I was gonna be, but you're right. I did like it more. I was psyching myself out.
Yeah, don't psych yourself out. And also, like, the art is great in this. Like, there, you know, that's one of the things I like about this is the art is one of the things that caught my eye in this and made me look into it, because I think, unlike The Walking Dead, this is colored, and so his art looks great black and white, but it also looks really good colors. Whoever did the colors on these did a good job. It really pops. It has like a pulpy sci-fi, eye-catching feel to it. And yeah, and I really like the character. I think the character is like a fun guy to get to know as far as like a character goes, where you're kind of rooting for him, but also he's kind of unlikable in some ways, but not so much that you actually like, you know, want him to fail or something, or you don't like him, but he and like there's enough mystery about him that you're kind of like, you want to know more about what happened in Texas. Why do they say, you know, are you the last fear agent, or I thought they were all dead, or kind of thing. So like, what happened in his past? So I'm assuming those are all questions that get answered as you read more. But what I do remember, like after the second or third, however far I read before, it like switches up. It's place setting somehow. I can't remember if it's like either it jumps ahead in time or it jumps back in time or something happens like that. And it like really was like a what moment. So I thought, you know, we didn't read that obviously for this, but I was like trying to remember what that was. I have a vague memory of it though, so I don't remember what it was, but there was some kind of like, oh my God, like moment in this later on, which is cool. Like, I think that's fun to do in like one of these kind of stories where you think you know what's going to happen and then it like changes everything that you think. It flips the book on you, kind of thing. So, yeah. But for me, I had a blast reading this. I was like, this is exactly what you would want in a monthly comic. It's fun. It's adventure. You know, great art. So I would definitely like keep reading this. In fact, there's like 2 really nice hardcovers of the whole series. I'm kind of like, do I want to buy those? Because they look really nice. They're oversized and the whole series. I think it's 32 issues total. So it's kind of like it's a series that's very gettable. You know what I mean? Like you can find it. It's not super expensive, and like you get it in issues, or you could go buy those nice hardcovers that are in print still. So I'm gonna give this book 7.5. I think it's fun. I think you could give this to most people and they enjoy it, whether they like sci-fi or not. It's relatable on multiple things. My biggest gripes with it are the names of things in this. Like, I just didn't buy any like the names of the alien races and stuff. But once again, that's kind of like what it sets itself up to be. Like, it doesn't make you think it's going to be more than that, you know?
Yeah.
So I didn't hate it, but it was just like, oh, I'm just going to say T when I see that word, because I don't want to fucking have to pronounce that every time. But yeah, so I give it 7.5. You give it a 7. John, what are we doing the poll on for our Patreons to vote on, our Patreon members to vote on next podcast?
So if you want to be a patron, and not only do you get an additional podcast just for you every month, you get to vote on our second issue for our main podcast that everyone hears.
Second episode.
Second episode. I said issue. Second episode. You get to vote in the poll, and this month's poll: new year, new comic of conspiracies and crazy wildness. I was trying to give it.
You're really trying to figure that one out.
But it's going to be comics that are.
It's like cyberpunk / conspiracy theory books, and this is mainly because I recently read 2 comics that I fucking loved, and I was like, I think everybody should read these. So, the 2 books that I suggested of the 4 are World Tree and The Department of Truth. World Tree is kind of cyberpunk, and Department of Truth kind of like X-Files conspiracy theory. And then what were the other 2, John?
We've also got Ghost in the Shell. That's one we've never done for the podcast. Very cyberpunky, futuristic story of like assassination from what I remember, and then Robots. Astro Boy or Robots. Yeah. So yeah, two kind of of those cyberpunky thrown in there as well. So new year, new poll, and if you want to join our Patreon, it's patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word. We got a couple different tiers, and we appreciate it. We should thank our patrons.
Yeah, thank you guys. We love you, Hoku, Otaku, Mike, Christian, Matthew, Kyla, Joseph, and Kalia. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, if you like John said, you get to vote on our second podcast, and you get an exclusive one if you join our Patreon. So.
And the reason Matt always says them, I just want to throw it out there to you guys, is because Matt always has the most updated list. Because I swear, like, we'll talk about it. And I'm like, oh, that person isn't on Patreon anymore. That's right. Okay, that's fine. And it's fine. You're welcome to come and go as you please, as you can. We just appreciate y'all when you can help and support, us doing this, and keeping, our huge back catalog of episodes. Now we've been doing this. We're just hit 3 years. So it's crazy to think that we've been doing it.
We've been doing it for longer than 3, dude.
Has it been longer than 3? Did we hit 4?
2019, I think we started, didn't we?
Oh, that's right. I guess we did start before the
in November.
Yeah, we started right before the pandemic. So goodness, wow. That's because it's all a blur.
The plandemic, John. Just joking, because we're doing conspiracy theories.
Yeah, it's it's a conspiracy. It's all a conspiracy. Yes, don't trust anyone. Research yourself. Find the research.
Yeah. Go find some videos on YouTube.
Go online. Go online and listen to somebody else tell
Look into it.
And that's how you know.
Look into it. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway. Yeah. So yeah. Next, we'll put that poll out this week. You guys can vote, and then we'll do it at the end of the month. And then I don't think we have picked our exclusive episode yet, but maybe it will be one of the choices that don't win from the poll. We'll see, because I really want to read either World Tree or Department of Truth. I'm not trying to put any weight on those.
You're not trying. How dare you try to sway the audience?
But right now, those are like 2 fantastic books I just read. So, but obviously, Ghost in the Shell is a perennial classic, right? Obviously, everybody loves that book. And then Astro Boy, same thing, right? That's like one of the first mangas / cyberpunk manga kind of things. So there you go. But I think that's all for now, John, unless you got anything else you want to talk about.
No, I think we're good. I'm excited to see which one of those wins. And and for February, I'm excited. We always do a real big Black History Month, as far as celebrating all the culture and Black writers and artists. So we're gonna have some good stuff going on in February with that coming up too.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, well, we will see you guys on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.